Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Mayor David Briley. We're discussing the budget that he submitted into the council this past week and his recent State of Metro address. Mayor, a lot of your opponents say you're basically using the effort to privatize and sell these city assets in order just to plug holes in your budget. If you can't get these done, and I think both these contracts, both to sell the downtown heating system and what else is going on with the parking system, both of them are going to be challenged. The contracts are going to be challenged. So what happens if you don't get these challenges over with? Are you going to go ahead and ask the council to approve these even though they may be overturned or changed? Well,
we're confident we'll get the contracts approved by the council and be able to proceed with the awards. And
if that doesn't happen, the council nixes the idea, what happens to the budget? Don't you have some pretty big holes to fill? I mean, you're getting $34 million on the parking thing, and you're getting $60 million on the selling.
So last year's budget, the council had $15 million approved for the parking in last year's budget, and through some delays, it ended up not being collected in this fiscal year, this budget we're currently in, and we've been able to manage our way through it. So we're confident, number one, that these are good deals for the city, that they make sense, that they're a way for us to modernize the way we operate government here, and we're confident we'll get them both approved by the council and through the system in this next fiscal year.
Mayor, these two kind of opportunities are initiatives by you to sell the downtown parking system and the heating system are not the kind of things you'd like that most politicians want to see come up before the council to vote on just a couple of months with the mayor before they run for re-election. Why are you doing that? Don't you want as quiet and status quo budget as you can get until election time? That seems strange.
Well, these are difficult things to do, but they are important things to do. And we're not selling the downtown parking, just to correct one thing. This is
You're privatizing it.
There's a long-term public-private partnership that would result in $300 million of revenue coming into the city over time.
Where does this work well? And people keep saying it doesn't work well in Chicago. I've looked at some of the Yelp things from customer satisfaction. They're not always very good. Are you going to have some customer satisfaction in it? And tell me a city where it does work well.
Chicago is a city where they did something very differently than what we did. In Chicago, the company had the right to go out and expand unilaterally, and that's not going to be the case here. We're confident that this system will work well here in Nashville.
You can put parking meters in places they're not before. You're going to increase the rates. People are going to have to pay it more and more often. I mean, who's going to be happy about that? The modernizing it so they can pay it on their smartphones is great, but the others, they're tough things to sell, even if you weren't talking about privatizing.
Well, let me say this. The person who has been parking for free for forever, when they go to work downtown, might not be happy, but the taxpayers are going to be happy. That's what this is about. It's about making sure that the valet spot in front of the hotel isn't used all day, all year by the hotel, and they're charging $25 a person to park, and the city's getting nothing. What this is about using our curb space effectively for the taxpayer.
Last year, when we used selling property to sort of bump up the budget, it didn't work as well as we thought, but the council passed a law that says you can't use the sale of surplus property anymore in the general budget. Are these two things considered to be sales of property? Are they assets? Could they be used, or do they have to be used for debt service only?
I'm not sure how the council has. I'm not exactly sure how that will relate to these sales. But last year, when we did the parking, it was in the debt service component. So I'm assuming that the finance department has put them there again this year.
Nashville smashed all the records last weekend on the NFL draft in terms of attendance and TV ratings. So everybody's very happy about that. But what happened with that whole thing with the cherry trees? People have kind of forgotten about that a little bit, but 60,000 people weren't happy about how Metro was going to handle those trees. Was that just somebody having a brain cramp in Metro government that happened? I mean, people were very upset about that.
Well, I think there were people very upset about it. It's, I think, symbolic of a sense that the city needs to be cautious and patient and thoughtful when we use our own resources for some entity coming in from out of town. Now, the 60,000, I think, were around the world, so that's a pretty broad.
You hope they're not all voters.
That would be my understanding of it. But the trees have been replanted. And I talked to the horticulturist, I guess, about a week ago, and she said they were all doing fine.
Now, what does Nashville do to top itself? Do we want to top ourselves? I mean, do we just want to have a reputation of being one of the great party cities in America or in the world?
Well, more than 47.5 million people got to see Nashville, I think, in a great light with the draft. I'm not sure we want to have that intense of an event very often in Nashville.
So
we
want the Super Bowl next?
But I don't think the Super Bowl is what's next for us to consider. But we are on the list, the short list for an for a World Cup game.
And the MLS All-Star game as well sometime.
That's right.
In the future.
But the World Cup game, I think it would be a great way for us to show how exciting our city is and the progress we're making here on a worldwide stage. So I'm sure it helped us move up the list on that.
Do we need to put a list together? Maybe the mayor and other folks need to put together a list of what we want to go after, because there are a lot of opportunities out there. There are people talking about an MLA baseball team, lots of other things. I mean, don't we need to be strategic about what we want to go after, not just have them land on the door?
Well, the CVC does a fair amount of that when it comes. They were the entity that recruited the NFL here, so they are looking for those events to come to Nashville and trying to balance the economic impact of the event with the money that the city would have to spend, the CVC would have to spend to get it to come here.
Mayor, briefly as we close out, when you saw those crowds down on Broadway, particularly those drone shots, did it make you go back to 9 years ago right now when there was 6 or 8 feet of water down there, and you see what's happened? I mean, we've had quite a recovery, maybe even more than we ever thought in Nashville.
Well, you know, Nashville is growing quickly, and we're seeing a lot of economic activity, and we have to be very careful about losing our sense of place. But I was really proud of our city during the draft.
Mayor Briley, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll probably have you back again during the election campaign.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get up politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.